Hello, everyone. This is Auto Asphyxiation, and this is Lark, and
Kimberly.
that's right. And we are excited because you know what though. First, though, I want to take a little bit of time. It's like I know your stepfather passed, and he was just like an amazing person. He was like an important person in your life, and I just want to like acknowledge that happened, and just be like, you know, I mean, he's like he was such an important person. He was like a fire person. He was in Blair Town, like right. He was in Blair Town, and
Yeah, he was a member of the Blairstown Hose Company, and he was a former fire chief as well. And he was the head of the Department of Public Works. He was also the head of the emergency management and the emergency management coordinator for the whole township for decades. And he had a very good turnout, and it was an excellent party in his honor. So, Bob Depew, we miss you, and may your memory always be a blessing.
yes, we have to always remember that. I mean, people that in our lives who are important, even regardless of when these things happen. Um, the thing is that on April 5th, we had a major protest organized, well, not organized, but I kind of like, I guess I want to say organized by 50501. I don't want to say they organized it, but it was kind of through their Reddit page, right? Through their Reddit page that it kind of like came to fruition. And literally estimates are 5 million people came out. My gosh, that's like amazing. 5
That
million
is
people
amazing.
came out, and you know unfortunately, not unfortunately, but it's good to have critiques. The usual suspects were unhappy. The fascists, of course, they're unhappy. Fascists are always unhappy because they're unhappy people. They're evil. We hate them anyway. But
They're
also,
unhappy even though that they won.
exactly, you won. This is what you wanted, right? All of this stuff is happening now. This is what you wanted. You should be happy, but you're not. You're still not happy anyway. But also, surprisingly, some progressives and some leftists were not happy about the protests. They were like, this is just a glorified block party. And they were talking about it was one person who talked about a bouncy house, like was like a protest, and she said, "Oh, there should be a bouncy house." There was literally one person who said that. That wasn't like everybody, and I feel like I don't know. I know that's a little bit off topic, but I felt like in a way it's like, are we really going to take one person and then just characterize everybody at the march as vapid because of one person? I mean, the thing is that social media makes it so that, it's kind of like everybody, it becomes a town square. And anyway, anyway, okay, let me move on. Let me move on from that. Because I want to talk about that, but because I think in a way, the way it was talked about was a little bit of BS. Yes, she shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have asked for a bouncy house. A protest against authoritarianism, but I also just didn't like the whole like I hate when women like other women like attack other women. We could have just gathered her and just quietly been like, no, we don't have bounty houses at marches against authoritarianism.
But also, I would venture to look back at revolutions in history and look back at the things that were written down about the random gatherings that were happening. There was a sense of joy right before the French Revolution really started to spark off. There was a sense of joy amongst the populace, amongst the peasants, finally in Paris, because they finally felt like they were wresting control back for their lives. So, no, maybe it was a poor decision to say that, but I like that idea of joy and revolutions and coming together and people opening up and waking up to class consciousness is joyful, and it should be celebrated because we are wresting back control.
Exactly. I mean, I think about Emma Goldman. She's like saying that if I can't dance in a revolution, then it's not my revolution. Something like that.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
so I think this is kind of like, I mean, that's kind of like how I view it. So kind of like, I want to gather that woman and just, go, hey, you know what? anyway, but like I said, I want to support other women, and I don't want to like lean into this weird thing where it's kind of like we're just like these kind of women are bad and these kind of women are good. And you know what? If you came to the protest, amazing, awesome, great, great, great. I hope you learned something. I hope you come to the next one on April 19th. But here's the thing. Kind of moving on with our topic today, can single issues be helpful when fascists are trying to literally enslave us? Can purity ever, be part of progress? And when does the pursuit of ideological purity within a movement risk alienating, allies? Like, is there a line? Like, where is the line? And some activists argue that criticizing mass movements publicly can fracture solidarity. So how do you balance holding a movement accountable with avoiding harm to its broader goals? Like, what do you think, Kimberly?
Well, we are at a really, unfortunately, unprecedented time in history. And I don't know about you, my friend Lark, but I would really love for some precedented times to come along. But that's not right now. So, when we're talking about like single issues right now, we're generally talking about the genocide in Palestine. But unfortunately, we also need to recognize that a genocide is taking place right now in the United States. It is a genocide of immigrants. It's a genocide of migrants, legal status, non-legal status. It's a genocide of students who protested against Palestine. There is a genocide being perpetrated amongst trans people as well as cisgendered women. There are women dying from lack of reproductive care. That in and of itself is a genocide. So why are we not putting on our own oxygen mask before helping others? Because we can't help them if we're suffocating.
I think that's such a good point. I mean, and I think I've seen that over and over again. There is something to me I feel about single issues that, that feel disingenuous. It feels like, to me, it's like, okay, we have like, why are we not first of all, we should all lives, all and it seems horrible to say this because we're always kind of like, oh, all lives matter. I'm not saying that, but we are almost like in some ways we are prioritizing one life over another life. We're prioritizing, I don't understand. Like, to me, I feel like the pragmatic choice would be we figure out how we can save the most people, how we can get control over our government, how we can get our, get control from the literal fascists. And I think that's so important. But I think what you said was really important and really like beautiful. And the whole thing is that, the misogyny on the left has really, I feel, take hold and let us think and let us feel that. And I think in a way it encourages us to go, well, these children can die because we have better children that we should save. These women can die. Like, it's just, it's very neoliberal for you to want abortion. This is something I've heard a lot. Like, abortion and reproduction rights, that's a neoliberal issue. And who decided that was neoliberal? How is that neoliberal? But, working a union job at a corporate company, how is unionizing Ford not neoliberalism? How is that not neoliberalism? How is unionizing Amazon? How is that not neoliberalism? I mean, the definition. Now, I understand it. It depending on how you're looking at it, but
those are very basic things.
Exactly, and so abortion and reproduction rights. Immigrants, migrants. Those people are important too. We can't just go, well, we can't because they're in the United States. They're neoliberal issues. And I think this is kind of like where we have gone, where we kind of like view, if it's in the United States, it's not real. It's neoliberalism. And so those people can all die because they shouldn't be in the United States anyway. The United States shouldn't exist. And I think this is something that is really challenging. I mean, and like when does the pursuit like I don't know. I guess like I had a question like, when does the pursuit of ideological purity within a movement risk alienating potential allies or weakening collective power? I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, how are we going to like join together? I'm afraid, you know, even it's not even the left. There are some progressives that are just kind of like, this candidate isn't the right candidate, or this issue isn't the right issue, and they're doing it wrong, or they're speaking wrong, or they're protesting wrong. And so now I'm going to not have anything to do with anyone who had anything to do with that incident.
And it just, you know, like, and yeah, I mean, if you look at purity politics right now, to me, at this time in our history, is a suicide mission. You know, like if you look at like purity politics, like my husband is a tanky and I am much more anarcho leaning. Like we live a life of harmony together. We don't agree on everything. We discuss the things that we may not agree on. Our principles, the very basic of our moral standing and our moral compass, is the same. And the progressives and leftists who are playing purity politics are already and have been already alienating people and pushing people away to where they don't want to organize, or they don't want to get involved, or they've been pushed along to the other side, which is even worse.
I mean, that's the thing I'm like kind of scared of. I'm just like, okay, so, you know, are we pushing people to, you know, to make a more progressive situation? I think about Bowman in New York and Cory Bush, St. Louis. I feel bad. Like, I think it's St. Louis, somewhere in the South. And I think about the fact that I was at Bowman's in New York. I was at his fundraiser, and I was essentially like, I gave money. I gave quite a bit of money to help him keep his seat. And we couldn't get other leftists out there because they were like, he is not left enough. He had talked about, you know, rightfully so, he had talked about the atrocities that were going on in Palestine. He had talked about like very progressive issues, but they're like, oh no, you're still not left enough. And so now that seat actually has a very right-leaning Democrat in it. So, I mean, this is the thing that I am just kind of like, you know, there's parts of me that like, are people who have a problem with what's happening right now? Like, it's like, you know, how might harsh public critiques of mass mobilization, even from the same ideological camp, be exploited by opponents of the cause? In my own head, do you care about us? Are you a tool for Putin via Jill Stein, or do you actually care about these progressive issues? I'm just kind of like, I have to wonder, am I silly or ridiculous for believing that you actually care about people? Because if you actually understand how politics work, you seem like you would be a little bit more pragmatic. This hard stance seems like it's only helping the right. I mean, am I wrong here thinking that?
I don't think that you are at all, you know, and I think that it's quite telling when you know, first, you know, I just want to say that, like, if my tanky ass husband, who is just generally like, they're getting the wall about literally anything, swallowed his pride and his ego and walked down the block with me to vote for Kamala Harris, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you are alienating people. You are making fun of people who are, for the first time in their lives, are experiencing any sense of woke, any sense of class consciousness. And we're not asking you to reach out across party lines and like wrap your arms around your local maggot and try to convince them that you too are a human being. But we are asking you to be like, maybe extend a gentle hand, maybe use a little bit of compassion in your criticisms of people rather than push them away. You know, I saw like the last 2 weeks of my life have been a bit of a blur. But I did see that Kamala Harris came out with a video on TikTok. I didn't get an opportunity to watch it, but the criticism was swift and harsh. And I just really looked around at all of my leftist friends and thought, wow, people sure do love to hate a Black woman, don't they? Where was that fervor and where was that hate a couple of weeks ago when the White House was posting ASMR videos of people in chains being dragged into a fucking airline and to a country where they don't even know where they're going? Where was that? Where was the vitriol online about that? They sure came out with it for Kamala Harris, though.
I mean, that is the thing. It's just like the swiftness of the hate. And it's like, and I think I read somewhere, they were like, the issue with what happened with this election was about, this, like white supremacy and anti-Blackness. It wasn't even about the issue. It's like, like a little part of me feels that, wow, and the thing is that's so amazing. I have this great, I work at a little college, and my my chair, I was like, well, I feel like if Biden had stayed in, maybe this wouldn't have happened. He was like, no, he like yelled at me. He was like, no, we need to make progress. We need to make change. And I was just like, and I was just thinking like, oh, was this about that? A part of me thought, was this about the fact that she was a Black woman? Was this not about the fact that this was not about Palestine? Was this not about, single payer healthcare? Was this all about that? Because when you see, like what I saw in El Salvador, when I saw, immigrants, people who are, people, my, neighbors, citizens, people who, citizens, we're all U.S. citizens. We're all citizens of the world. When I saw them being in chains, treated like that in El Salvador, I was just like, I'm so angry and upset and distressed. And then it's like, but the anger towards Kamala seemed so much more vicious.
And let's talk about the anger towards Cory Booker. Like, Cory Booker is my senator, and that I have long yelled about Cory Booker having a full voicemail box and not returning emails. But I was proud to be from the state of New Jersey and to be a constituent of Senator Cory Booker, who got his ass up there and did something. Because people have been screaming for months, the Democrats need to do something. And then when they do, all they get is derision. Why is that?
And I think the things that I remember I was like telling people, like, he's doing stuff, because I was reading because here's the thing, during the Harris campaign, they had this Black Women Win thing. So I was on the mailing list, and Booker was sending out things saying, who knows how to do social media? Who knows how to do, like, help me collect letters? He was actually sending out stuff asking the group to, like, get letters from the community. And I was just kind of like, and I kept saying, like, I didn't know what it was. I was like, he's planning something. He's planning something. Like, trust me. And he actually did. He took all those letters. And the thing is that a lot of people, when they do filibusters, he wasn't a filibuster. It was filibuster shaped. I'll say it's filibuster shaped. They just read from the phone book, or they read like Dr. Seuss. He was reading letters from people. I mean, he was kind of like speaking to different like issues, like the single payer. He was speaking. He actually did talk about Gaza. He actually did. That's what people talked about, transphobia. He talked about all these issues. It wasn't like he didn't talk about it. And all the things people were saying, oh, he didn't talk. Well, I guess because you and I actually listened to like the whole 25 hours. You told me that it was happening. You're like, oh my God, Lark, like this, he's on TikTok. And I was like, what?
I had that on my car. I had my TikTok on, like, and like, you could put it like the little picture in picture on my GPS on my phone 2.5 hours to the Poconos last Tuesday. Like, because I didn't want to miss a word of it. I was actually excited for once about something. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. I was just like, I didn't even know what was happening till you told me. And I was like listening, and I'm like, he it wasn't a regular filibuster. Most filibusters are just people just rambling on about, like, like I said, reading the phone book or reading a script.
Absolutely prepared. He was absolutely prepared. I give it to him. But he got nothing but derision. And I'm tired of looking through my Facebook feed and my other social media feeds and seeing nothing but white leftists criticizing Black Democratic leaders when you've been screaming at them to do something, and then when they do, you're like, oh, but not that way, because you're really sounding like you're horseshoing around to the way that right wingers tried to tell Colin Kaepernick how to protest.
Exactly. It really does feel that way. And I'm like, I try to, like, not be on that. Like, I try to, like, I'm trying to give people the benefit of a doubt, but it's like, it's just weird, especially when I'm like, did you say, because I'll ask people, can you show me where you talked about Menendez? Can you show me where you talked about Joe D? Can you show me where you talked about Mickey Sherrill? And here's the thing, I'm not saying anything about these people. I'm simply asking, show me where you criticize anybody. Like, here's the thing, Booker and Ross Baraka are totally different people. Like,
totally.
Ross Baraka is very progressive, very left, not anything like Booker. And the same people criticizing Booker were criticizing Baraka. And I was just like, how is Baraka even kind of like Booker? Like, I just think that's wild to me. He actually protected that, like, the undocumented people. He was like, you can't come to Newark and do this. During COVID, he was giving out, like, making sure people stayed housed and fed. I'm just like, how is Baraka a problem? I think the reason that I would, even with Booker, why I am, even though the things that there are things about he does that I don't agree with, I don't believe that people are being authentic about what the problem is with him. Like, if I really believed it was about what he was doing, I'd be like, okay, but I don't think that, because you also have a problem with Baraka. Why do you also have a problem with Baraka? You can't, it's literally, there seems to be, there's one thing that's in common between Ross Baraka and Cory Booker. And here's the thing, it's not necessarily class, because Booker's parents were like upper middle class. They had, like, money. He's like whatever. And Baraka's parents were like, very artsy poetry people in Newark. They're not the same people, not by a long shot. Literally the only thing those two have in common are that they're Black. That's literally the only thing. I mean, they're so different. They're like night and day. And so it's weird for me. Like, to me, I feel like if Booker was a white man doing what if Baraka was white doing what he was doing, white leftists would love him to death. And I think that is the thing that just makes me so sad. Like, you guys, is it really race? Is race really that big of a deal to you? Am I ridiculous because I'm from California and I just, like, don't get it? Like, I'm like, is that? And I think it's that, yeah, it's clearly like that. But, like, in my own head, I'm like, maybe it's something else. No, it's not. It's not something else.
Well, we always want to believe, like, especially people that are supposed to share, like, the same ideology that we do. We always want to believe that they're, like, as open-minded, or they're accepting, or they're not internalizing racism, and that they're, like, or they're working through their internalized racism and sexism. But unfortunately, a lot of people aren't in really honest ways. They're not really being honest with themselves, and doing the work themselves. They like to point fingers at a lot of other people.
Yeah, I mean, and moving on from that, I mean, because that's important, but we'll talk about that later because we have other things to talk about. But it's like, okay, the thing every time what I always think about is the Weimar Republic, and I know I'm, like, obsessed with this whole really thing, and I don't know why. I guess because at that point, like, the SPD, which were the socialists, and the KPD, which were the communists, and just so you guys know, we're still mad at each other. No, it's still a thing. It's literally still a freaking thing. So during the German Revolution, just kind of like a background, okay? So that like there's a German Revolution in between 1918 and 1919, and literally those two left camps were like fighting each other, and they kept fighting each other, and it kind of destroyed the Weimar Republic. And ultimately, what would happen was that um like I always say, it's like it was like the Gallagher brothers. They were like fighting each other, and essentially because the KPD refused to unite with the SPD, and and then depression happened, and then the right just went in there and just took over, and then we had Nazis. I'm just kind of like, are we doing this again? Are we really doing this? Because I feel like we're doing this again. Like we couldn't like we can't find a way to like meet each other at common ground. I'm afraid. Like I'm afraid. I don't want to die. And like all you have to do is like we work together and cooperate. We can live. And like I don't. What do people not get about that?
It's no, we're failing an open book, not only an open book test, we're failing an open note test with the ability to Google. Like it's just like there's and I know that like I always thought of myself as a person that didn't have great pattern recognition, but it turns out that I always thought pattern recognition had to do with like geometry and stuff like that. That no, I can recognize patterns as they approach me during history. And I just for the last like 10-15 years I've just been going, guys, this ain't good. This is not good. You guys, if we don't shut up and stop talking about our differences, come together about everything that we have in common, we're going to be fucked.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing. It's like if we can't come together, we're going to have a problem. And I don't think that, and this is the problem when I think about these bad actors. If I really believe that what your issue was what you claim was your single issue, then I feel like I could work with you. But I think that some people's single issue is that's just what they're using as a cover. And their ultimate issue is destruction of everyone. And the thing is that they feel like this is the only way to get a revolution. And I feel like there are different ways to get revolution. I feel that our idea that you could only get revolution through violence and murder is very sexist. It's very, this whole like it's very sexist, it's very puritanical. You have to go, you have to cleanse yourself with pain in order to like, get to this next level. And I'm disturbed that I feel like we need to be kind of critiquing that and pushing back on that more. Because I mean, I feel like, with the protests on April 5th, people were upset. They were like, well, no one got hurt. No one, there wasn't any fighting. So it was just a gigantic block party. And I was just like, because people were angry with each other, you felt that no progress could be made.
Do you want to clean corpses up off the corner? Like, I don't think that people really understand or realize this. And I know that you and I have had like private conversations about this, but like, I don't think that people really realize that that's what it will come down to. Like, it will be people just dropping dead because they don't have medication or food or access to clean water. Like, it's, like it will literally be that. Like, are you ready to watch your grandparents just wither away and die in front of you, or the children that play down the street? Like, you're not being honest or compassionate with your single issues when it's going to bring about so much harm to so many.
And that's the thing. I think that people have this dream that what's going to happen is they're going to just die immediately. I think that's the dream. Like, oh, what's going to happen is, it's going to be a revolution and we're all going to die really quick. And I don't think people understand dying is really hard. I don't want to be like a downer, but it's really hard to die, even if you want to.
I'm a nurse, and I've worked in nursing homes, and I've worked with many hospice patients. And your body does everything that it possibly can to stay alive, even when it is riddled with cancer. So yeah, it's not fun to die, and it's slow, and it's horrible. And
Yes,
not everybody is prepared to watch that happen to their loved ones. That's why they have people like me take care of their loved ones in hospice, because they're not prepared to do it. And that's okay. So don't accelerate everything, because like you're not ready for that.
no, people are not ready for that. And I also, another thing is like, we always talk about, solidarity, solidarity, solidarity. And I think that I like, okay, think about like individualism. And I think about it in like urbanism. And I think about in urbanism when we have like these, like how Essex is cut up, how Essex, which is really a city, is cut up in all these little neighborhoods, which in a way becomes to me like a macro version of individualism. It's still individualism, but on a like a kind of a larger scale, which I know sounds weird, but I think it is a thing. And I feel about these political groups, these small political groups. I think about like in Essex, we have a political group that every week they do a protest on a corner in the neighborhood of Montclair. I'm not calling this city. In the neighborhood of Montclair, they do a protest, and it's like 5 people. At this point, what you're doing is an individualist action. It's a lone wolf individualist action. It's not a collective action. To me, when people kind of think collective, oh, more than one person. No, it is not. It's more than one community. I think we should start thinking collective as more than one community rather than more than one person. Because if you're having 5 people show up to your protest, it that's a lone wolf activity, and you're just like, well, we're not going to join with this larger group of 5 million people because our 5 people are like, we just can't do this. We can't figure out a way to work with you, even though we have 5 people come out every day. We can't figure out to work with 5 million people who want to stop an authoritarian fascist.
Like, and that really should be everybody's single issue. And like, what I read about all of these protests is that a lot of people that are coming out are like, starting to be like boomer age, and people who are looking to retire soon, and people that are waking up that, oh, maybe I should have voted, or maybe I should not have voted for Trump. And I'm not talking about your diehard cultist maggots. Like, I'm talking about people that are usually just Republicans, just your garden variety Republicans. There are people coming out across all kinds of different party lines and coming together to stop authoritarian fascism. So why are you singling yourself out with your little like 5-person protest?
I mean, that's the thing is just really frustrating to me because I feel like how are we going to build like here's the thing. I don't like the whole idea of that we only have 2 parties. I would love for us to have 3, 4 parties, 5 parties. I would love to have a parliamentary system. Number one, for us to have a parliamentary system, we're going to have a Democrat in the White House. Like that's something that's going to happen. I feel like they are reasonable. But number two, like in order for us to have different people, like different parties and to grow them, people are going to have to like us. If 5 million people go out and go, oh, we're happy, we're doing this protest, blah, blah, blah. We did something like, we had these various things that happened. We had Kamala like come out and talk. We had Booker do his 25-hour filibuster shaped shaped talk. The thing is, this is like, wow, how can I not figure out how to work with these people? Like, wow, this is a great opportunity for me to network. Like, I'm like, do you want? I'm like in my own head. This is like a real question. Do you really want your party to succeed, or is the point of your party to just be a spoiler, to just manipulate people? Because to me, as a person that loves people, that wants to network and things like that, I view this as wow, what a great opportunity for me to meet new people who I don't know and like maybe work with them on some project because already people are activated. Why would I want to be like, hey, you know what? You're a dumbass for coming out here. You just don't get it. Like you like who does that? That's
And
literally
that's a bully thing to do. That is a bully thing to do. And when I think about things that like I'm relatively introverted. I have ADHD and I have very big rejection sensitive dysphoria, which is an aspect of ADHD. So I think of times when I was a kid and I would try something and it didn't go well and somebody would harshly criticize me. I would never do it again. So right now you have a whole bunch of people across the political spectrum, across a whole age ranges who are waking up and they're experiencing what class consciousness could be. And those are nice, tiny little seedlings that are yearning for the sun. And instead of nurturing that little seedling, you're just going to come along and smash it down and make those people feel stupid. Because it's rejection sensitivity exists amongst the population. And when people are trying something that is outside of their box that they've never done before, like a mass protest, when you say that's stupid, you look dumb, that's not what we want, this is what we want, how many of those people are going to say, maybe I shouldn't have tried? You're right, I'm just one person, it doesn't really mean anything, and never try anything again?
that is just so important. That was just like such a deep, like important thing to say because that's so true. Like, wow, like the people that you want to reach, the people who feel like isolated, who are on the outside, that's exactly people you want to reach. And now you've just destroyed that. You've just killed that. And this is something I really want people who are my progressive friends, my left friends. I want you to understand. Like, you can be upset and mad. Just do it. Don't do it online. Don't do it in public. Do it like amongst your little friends. But when you're online, you're supposed to be the face of like a different way to be.
You're supposed to be the face of compassion and empathy. And instead, what you're doing is you're showing people who are popping up for the first time, you're showing them that the Republicans and MAGA has been right about leftists all along. Because they're already using that double speak and they're already trying to say it's we're the ones who are racist and we're the ones who are this. And you're giving them that confirmation and that validation that what the Republicans have been saying is right. Don't give them that validation. Don't do the work for the Republicans. They already have Jill Stein's shilling all over for them and people who will not see the light for what it is about her. Don't do more work for Republicans.
Exactly. This is very, very, very true. And I mean,
I sound really mad today, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound mad.
no, you don't sound mad. You sound like you're making like really good points. I'm like, yeah, that's really good. That's a good point. That's a good point. And like with that, we're gonna like really wrap it up because I feel like you've made all the good points, and I don't have anything else. I don't really have like to me. I feel like you should end on that. I have said what I had to say, but I feel like we should end on that because you like I feel like people should remember that. Like, yes, remember that people have this sensitivity and they want compassion. They want to feel like they've done something. They want to be encouraged. And when you discourage them, you might not even hear from them ever again. They just will just go back in their little like dark little, YouTube hole of cute videos. I don't know. Well, who are they? I don't know what the young people are listening to now. I'm like, oh, the old, it's a cure. The cure is.
I think they rediscovered the cure.
Yeah. Exactly. So with that, I want to say thank you guys all for listening and supporting us, and thank you, Kimberly, for being a great co-host. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening.